Liberty in our lifetimes in a free state of our own. That's the vision. That's the dream. And we are building it in New Hampshire. I'm Eric Gericke, your host and renegade statesman for the Porcupine Report. Welcome to your source for porcupine news and free-range conversation on matters of liberty. All right, let's hop into the show. Hey there, all you porcupines, this is your host, your renegade statesman, your executive director of the New Hampshire Free State Project, Eric Gericke, coming to you for a brand new episode 103 of the Porcupine Report. So wherever you are enjoying this episode, whether it's on Free State Project social media pages like X or Facebook or YouTube, or on your favorite podcasting app like Spotify or so many others that are out there, if you could go ahead and do the things to help promote the show, leave a nice comment, share it with a friend, retweet, whatever makes sense for the platform that you're on. Really appreciate it as you help grow our audience. And I'll tell you, after the New Hampshire Liberty Forum wrapping up this weekend, and it was such a successful conference, I'm sure we'll be talking more about it. It is always so refreshing to meet people who are fans of the show, people who watch and listen every single week. Because it's, for me, in my experience, every week I come on and I just like talk to a camera. Well, and I talk to our guests. But I know you guys are out there, and but I don't get to see you all usually in the same way you get to see me. So coming together in person at the New Hampshire Liberty Forum and seeing so many people and hearing positive feedback about the show, people telling me how they listen every single week, and I got so many people telling me, how sorry they were to hear about Peter, my cat. So I guess that is a sign that people actually do listen and they actually do care. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our growing audience. And to those who came out to the conference, thank you for helping us build freedom. And what a successful conference it was. We'll talk more about it. Before we go further into today's show, I want to thank our sponsors for the program. And of course, our first sponsor is Porcupine Coffee Roasting, the freest place to get your premium roasted coffee in all of New Hampshire. Don't drink the status swill. There are other coffee roasters, including here in New Hampshire somehow, that don't care for free staters, don't care for freedom. They'd much rather us be a socialist state, not a free state. Well, don't drink their status swill. Drink Porcupine Coffee Roasting like I do. Porcupine Coffee Roasting is a private membership association operated by free staters in the Free State. They import specialty grade beans from all over the country. They roast them fresh and they ship them out to you. So whether you're here in New Hampshire or in some other state far less free than New Hampshire, you can get that Free State spirit in your cup, giving you the energy you need to build freedom wherever you are. And hopefully enough energy to build freedom enough that you get the resources together and you come move to New Hampshire, the place where you can really build freedom, as we are doing every single day. And so go to porcupinecoffeeroasting.com and use our discount code PorkReport to save 15% on individual orders. That's porcupinecoffeeroasting.com. And I also want to say thank you to our second sponsor, which is, of course, the Independence Inn. The Independence Inn is a bed and breakfast that is operated by free staters with the express mission of having a place where visitors can stay when they come to visit New Hampshire and to get a taste of the free state communities that are being built every single day. So pick a week on the calendar and plan your porcupine vacation. When you go to nhindependenceinn.com, tell them the Free State Project sent you, and they will take up to 50% off. You'll get a huge discount. They don't even make money on this, I'm certain. That's such a steep discount, and they do it because their mission is to get more free staters here. And sometimes before you make the move, you want to come and visit and see for yourself what's being built here. So pick a week, any week. Though this week on the program, we're going to be talking about one week in particular. You definitely will want to be looking at booking a stay, and the Independence Inn is a great place to stay. So whatever week, including the one very special week we're going to be talking about this summer, check out the Independence Inn, nhindependenceinn.com. Of course, I want to say thank you to all of our patrons. I have to still total up everything that came in from the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. We were approaching 300 patrons. I think maybe we've surpassed that, but I need to total everything up. Anyway, our patrons are those who contribute at least $10 a month or $100 a year to support the year-round mission of the Free State Project. Despite what our statist adversaries say about us, we don't have too many billionaires funding the Free State Project. Actually, in my experience, the billionaires in our crony capitalist society tend to support organizations that promote crony capitalism, not liberty and free markets. So we really do depend on small grassroots donors to support all that we're doing year round as we work to promote, outreach, invite, welcome, and engage people across all their entire journey from wherever they are to the free state of New Hampshire. So thank you to our patrons for making all this possible. And you can be a patron too by going to fsp.org/give. And your donation is tax deductible and it supports what we do. So thank you to our patrons. And of course, there are plenty of benefits you get for being a patron. You get access to our patron exclusive Signal group, where a lot of the great conspiracies to take over the world and leave everyone alone, or rather, at least to take over to New Hampshire and leave everyone alone. You want to be in that Signal group. That's for patrons only. We also have a print quarterly newsletter. We have special perks at Free State Project events and other goodies, including at different levels. You can get complimentary tickets for events. So fsp.org/give. Become a patron. It's very appreciated. And while you're there, sign up for the FSP newsletter. We send it out every single Sunday right to your email inbox. You don't want to miss that. It's the water cooler talk in the Free State Project, all the victories that are happening. And I know this week we're going to be doing a full recap on the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. There's a lot to recap. Frankly, I was so pleasantly surprised just how glowing and positive the news coverage was of this event. I mean, from outlets that usually are pretty hostile to Free Staters, from the New Hampshire PBS affiliate or NPR affiliate to this outlet, In-Depth New Hampshire, the Concord Monitor, glowing pieces. What were they saying about the Free State movement at the New Hampshire Liberty Forum? They were saying things like the Free Staters are taking a victory lap, that the Free Staters have become the center of the political conversation in New Hampshire. Concord Monitor ran with a line from my State of the Free State address that the fringe has become the fabric. And all of this was right on display. I know so many visitors who are here in New Hampshire who were coming to for the very first time to a Free State Project event who said they had no idea just how far along we were, that libertarianism is actually winning here in a way that you don't see duplicated anywhere else in the country. Some people told me they're planning to move just because of this experience, and others from professional organizations, in the liberty movement were very surprised and thought they need to have more of a presence on the ground here with what we're building, because this is where you make liberty win. So thank you to all who helped with that. We'll be talking more about that as well. So anyway, thank you. It was such a wonderful Liberty Forum. All right, let's get into our conversation today. I'm looking forward to welcoming back a returning guest to the show, someone who is a great freedom builder in the Free State movement. She is the chairman of the board of directors for the Free State Project. She is the president emeritus of the Free State Project. She is someone who, over the many decades of this movement, there are key times when, Carla Gericke, our guest today, was basically the person carrying the Free State Project organization on her shoulders and making sure things kept running and to bring us to the point where we are today. So she's done a lot of work, and she's continuing to work for the cause of freedom and the communities that we are building here in New Hampshire. And she is taking on the role of producer for Porkfest this year. Yes, Porkfest rises again. And it's going to be a little different this year. We're going to be talking about that. Look, I'll be upfront. Like I've told you along the way that we were talking with different venues. Things didn't work out this year with our historic venue. They decided they don't want to do more festivals there. There's a number of reasons for that. There are a number of reasons for that. We were looking for different venues. We've had one that seemed fairly promising, but things just didn't work out, particularly with the having to negotiate things with the municipality it would have been located in. And so, we kind of had a choice. We could say, all right, no PorcFest this year, which would be a real shame because every single year there's been a PorcFest. It would be a real shame to see that tradition break. Or we can lean in and recognize that necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes you have limitations that are put in front of you that require you to be creative. And sometimes that creativity that is brought upon by these limitations you weren't expecting can lead to something pretty special. And our guest today, Carla Gericke, has proposed a creative idea to keep PorcFest going this year and to do something very special that will help showcase to visitors to our state what we are building around the real, free state movement, throughout New Hampshire, and not just a simulation of it on a campground which is what we've, typically done. So I'm excited to say yes and to help build this, and I hope that you are too. Let's welcome to the show, Carla Gericke.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for that great introduction. I think I'm going to go for the winning round of being the most PorcFest producing person if we get this one off the ground. I'm super excited. You said it is a hard pivot. It is definitely something, to talk about here, but it is also something that's kind of been in the back of my mind and certainly in other people's minds over the years. And so it's kind of like an opportunity. The time has come. Let's try this.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to talking about that, and I know there are a lot of questions, and there are some people who are ready to jump in with both feet forward and say yes, this is great, this is exciting. I want to help build this and make it successful as an opportunity to showcase the free state of New Hampshire to visitors and to strengthen our community ties here in New Hampshire. And then I know there are some people who are and I get it, there's some people who. We all love the traditional PorcFest experience and what it's been, and maybe have some questions and some skepticism that we'll explore and we'll work through.
So let's start with what is actually happening, so that before people start to criticize everything, maybe they could better understand what we're doing. The elevator pitch is show, don't tell. So for 20 years, we basically told people what we're building, and we have tried to represent that on the campground. So if you think about PorcFest as at Rogers on the campground with the different hubs that Dennis introduced when he produced, the idea now is to zoom out of that campground and to show that we have built that across the state. So it is the passport to the free state. That is the way to think about PorcFest. It's basically here is a map of one thing, and now we're zooming out and we're saying the map is the entire New Hampshire, which is actually, we are so lucky that we have the state of New Hampshire, which everyone knows I like to say is a perfectly little sized country. But the fact that we can travel from nose to tail, from tip to end, in 3 hours is actually very, very uniquely awesome, and it makes this model possible because, I was playing around with the grok and I thought, is there any statewide adventure like this, right? And the grok was like, no, typically these would be citywide, like a South by Southwest or the Grahamstown Festival, which I am very familiar with in South Africa. Fringe festivals or art festivals across places might be in one city. But we, because of the Free State community, can actually do this across the state. And it is going to be successful if we can get everyone on board. And so this is the one where it goes from management doing something to, hey, community, what do you guys want to do? So the premise is we have this passport across the Free State, and people will come in for the week that we've always done PorcFest, starting on the summer solstice, June 21st through the 28th, probably with some bonus events and encore events the week after. You know, as you said, it's still a little in its early planning phases. We have 102 days to go. So I have 2 more days to figure out the actual planning, and then we have 100 days to implement. But the idea is buy your PorcFest ticket. Things are going to be going on. We have at least 7 or 8 participating clubhouses and venues and farms and businesses and all of that. And I assume we'll have community members add more. And so the idea is come to PorcFest, explore the state, stay at Rogers if you want to, although there will only be camping, no vending, no extra pressures on the campgrounds. Just simply you can bring your camping or your RVs, or stay where it's most convenient to you. I assume maybe little pods and groups of people might be like, hey, why don't 10 of us go stay at this campground? And then everyone's going to use their little pods to explore across the state, get different flavors of different parts of the state, really get to experience different regions. It adds a little competition between the venues. So I think there's a lot to love here, but I also do appreciate that change is hard. Some people have, a very set view about PorcFest. As someone who went to PorcFest back in 2005 and has organized it 3 times already before this, I too have, sentimentality around it, but I think it is the future of PorcFest.
Yeah. Well, at least, certainly right now it is a grand experiment, and and we should lean into that, and we should welcome that. I mean, change is inevitable, and I know that there are folks who want the and I certainly love the kind of the traditional, like we're kind of on one place, and that kind of that's central location to it all. And that's there's always talks about like could some donor come in and help us acquire a property or something. But even if that's the case, that is a multi-year project, and right now we have an opportunity to really showcase New Hampshire right now, and we should lean into that.
And honestly, even if someone buys that property, and folks have been trying to persuade me for the past year that no, our people are going to love living and camping in a muddy field with no roads. These same people who can't, tolerate, rustic campground are suddenly going to love having like no features and no roofs and no toilets. Apparently, that makes sense. Doesn't really make sense to me, but if someone buys that field, you're right, it is going to take years. And so this model would have had to be implemented then anyway, right? Because the build up or the spin up might be like, oh, we can accommodate 200 or 300 on the field the first year, right? And then you got to scale and scale and scale, right? Burning Man wasn't always 100,000 people at the start, right?
Yeah.
Burning Man also likely would have struggled to move their location to another spot.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is PorcFest has grown so big and so successful that we've literally outgrown the venue.
And I think the venue and what we're trying to do at the venue, our needs don't suit each other either, right? So from Crosby's perspective, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, people started dinging his reviews and giving 1 stars, and it was like no one was really factoring in that there was a lot of goodwill and a lot of freedom in the true sense of the word that was built into the relationship that was built over 22 years with Rogers Campground. And, people don't know all the history, but when I went to my original PorcFest in 2005 or 6 up at Rogers, and then it moved to Gunstock for 2006 6 and 7. So 2005 at Rogers, 2006 and no 7 and 8. Sorry, 7 and 8. At Gunstock, and then in 2009 we went back to Rogers. Back in those days, that was the Iraq War. You know, you gotta. There's that meme where the N turns into the Q, or the Q turns into the N. And I actually
they say that history. They say that history rhymes, but I guess in this case, it's what it is. Iraq and Iran don't actually rhyme. They just have the same.
Right. But it's there's that famous meme. It's an anti-war meme where the N is switching, the Q is switching to the N. Yeah. And I share that probably 15, 20, whenever the war started. I shared that. And I remember, because I thought, oh, this might come back and bite you in the butt. Is I was like, my line in the sand is, if America goes to war with Iran, we are seceding. Like, I posted that, like 15 years ago. And now I'm like, oh, TikTok, right? Because it is, I'm not joking when I say this is a travesty. There was a great clip. Did you see the one with Andrew Heaton that came out today, where it's the game show and they have to say whether it's a declared war or not?
Is it a war or not? It's like, oh, no, that's an overseas contingency operation. What about the war on Christmas? Definitely a war.
Right? It was great. And so if folks are looking for that, that is, up on my wall on X. But the Porkfest. So, yes, it's different. I also think it embodies the words that Ross Ulbricht said at Bitcoin 2025. He got out, of course, thanks to the efforts of Free Staters and many other people, but really, the original groundswell did come from the Free State. And Ross said on stage at Bitcoin 2025, he said, the way we win is with unity, decentralization, and freedom. And so I actually see this model as sort of mimicking those words, right? So the decentralization comes from allowing different venues to start to do their own thing, to showcase the work they've done. And let's talk about some of those venues. I mean, I'm thrilled. Latitude Learning, Sharon Osborne's efforts. It's a charter school down in Nashua. They have a actual kids camp that week, so they'll be presenting that as part of the Porkfest schedule, so people can be like, oh, I've always actually wanted to take the kids to that, and I couldn't do it because I was up in the North Country. This time I'm going to stay down south of the Notch and go to that, say. We have the domes in Henniker and Rooted Free in Henniker. The domes, of course, is Jay Noon, who does, so many programs at Porkfest. I mean, one year he was actually there was a real live forge, where they were making swords with kids. And the rule was just your kid has to wear closed-toe shoes. So he'll be doing programming, I assume, very homestead related.
And I know that Jay was telling me that the folks that he's been engaging with up in his neck of the woods are all very excited about participating with this.
Yeah, I've actually gotten hit up by signals from lots of different sides. And actually, that's probably something we should talk about. I just want to run through the other ones quick, and then maybe we can dive into that. Obviously, the Quill, which is where I'm going to be doing programming. We're excited to be involved. It's a great way to maybe showcase the podcast studio that's been put in there. I actually want to bring in, for some of the programming there, alliances and relationships with, over the years, the former Speaker of the House, the former editor of New Hampshire Magazine, the former radio jock, people like that who have actually come to know and love Free Staters, right? So that could be an opportunity for out-of-staters to come and to really immediately meet, real movers and shakers who are just part of the aligned Liberty community in New Hampshire. We have like Bardo, for example, unfortunately doesn't have programming that week because their daughters there's a big dance thing. So a lot of parents who live here are like, oh, that week's bad for us, but they might do some extra programming the week after. There is the warehouse.
Yep.
Of course, Brian Becker with his, he serves on our tech team, and they have that beautiful space with the Appeal to Heaven out in Ware, New Hampshire, which is about half an hour from the Quill. So, if someone's on their passport mission, they could be like, oh, okay, so I have to leave Rogers by 10 o'clock to be in Manchester by noon. I got to do 2 hours of programming at the Quill, maybe have a late lunch just to discover what the city's about. And then, stop by the warehouse on the way on your drive back, right? So that's just one scenario. So what I want people to really internalize is kind of like, hey, like think about it this way. You're going on vacation in a foreign country where everyone speaks English, where the roads are really good, and where, there's going to be all this amazing, amazing community-driven content that really showcases what Free Staters have built here in the past 20 years.
Now, for the participating groups that are hosting events and content, are they going to be hosting as an individual? Let's say like the Quill. Is the Quill going to be hosting content all week, or are they going to be like, here's like the day we're doing stuff at the Quill? Maybe this is the day you want to be down in more southern New Hampshire. How is this kind of distribution happening, or that's still being worked out in the spontaneous
No,
order?
I think those are good questions. The way I at least currently envision it, and people will certainly express their opinions as to whether these are good or bad ideas. Although I will say on net, I think other than people who are just genuinely shocked because it was new, the response has actually been overwhelmingly positive. So I'm really glad about that. I think the venue should be doing daily programming. I might suggest that we sort of limit the window to like 11 to 4 every day in terms of sort of official programming, just to make it easy for people to go home, to also still have that sort of sense of unity. And let me explain 2 things that might help make things clearer. So I mentioned this passport, right? So we have the literal passport, right, from years ago that we created. And so we'll probably upscale that and maybe make it look a little less like a real US passport and more like a Porcupine passport. But the idea is going to be, and this money is already raised, so I feel really happy to announce this. We have the free Ian Now prize, which is a $10,000 bounty for people who go to 4 or 5. I haven't quite decided on the number. I think there's maybe some math I have to run first, venues during the week. So the idea is actually to try and create an incentive for people to go to all the places, or as many as possible. Of course, also everyone's space is limited, right? No one can actually accommodate 1,000 people to listen to a Scott Horton say, right? So what I was thinking is, every place should plan on, getting between 10, depending on what the program is, to maybe 80 or 100 people. If we sell 1,000 tickets to PorcFest, as we usually do at a minimum, right? Then you're talking about 1,000 people moving around between different venues. So, maybe 100 at each venue. So I think breaking it up, doing regular programming, allowing people to kind of choose their adventure would be the way to go. I'm inclined to say Saturday, maybe we don't do any programming, other than I really wanted to keep a unity element to your exact sentimentality that we all feel. The one beautiful thing about PorcFest is that, hey, we all get together and we get to commune and we get to have that family reunion once a year. And so I was like, how can we keep an element of that? And the best hack I came up with for this year, maybe it changes over time, maybe it changes between now and June, is let's have a unity event at Rogers on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. when we always did the group photo, and let's convene on the field at Rogers for that group photo, but also for the drawing of the $10,000 prize, and you have to be present to win. You can call me evil, but I understand incentives.
So does the, I guess a few questions. First of all, I like the idea of the convergence in kind of one place by
almost
the end.
A pilgrimage, right?
Yeah. Part of me likes the idea too, if there was like an opening ceremony, like where people could kind of get started and end. But
yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
All right. Well, I threw it out there anyway.
I mean, we could try, but here's the thing. Rogers does not want events there.
Yeah,
Rogers, I mean, he's doing me a favor to let me even do the photo at the end. I mean, there's still,
Do you know if we could, one idea that I like is, just trying to, think of like traditions of PorcFest that we can kind of maintain in this new format. One of the traditions I know and love, and I think is part of the spirit of PorcFest, is the burning of the porcupine. And usually people pick sticks up around the campground and bring them together and assemble this porcupine that is burned. I mean, would it be possible if people picked up sticks along their journeys around New Hampshire and brought a stick to that final ceremony, and we still had the burning of the porcupine?
I mean, I'll take it under advisement. I think we also have to show our bona fides. We have, there's repair in this relationship that needs to happen. And so Crosby was very adamant that, he doesn't want the strain on the campground beyond what it's actually built for.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I can float it by him. Being entirely honest, I was kind of like,
ideas.
Don't get me wrong. You and I are thinking the same way, because I was like, well, if we're all there for the group photo, could I do soapbox idol? So don't get me wrong. We are on the same wavelength, but I also want to be respectful to actually someone who I know has gotten a bit of a bum rap over the last, couple of years or so, but that actually was, a good partner and really did have that live and let live ethos with us, very libertarian, but also, ran interference with the town, with the police, treated everything from a property rights perspective. No, you can't come in, police, unless I authorize it, right? Like there was a lot of value in having Crosby with that character sort of standing with us. He also, of course, let us do COVID PorcFest there. Now, I don't know if people fully appreciate how significant that was, but there were zero libertarian events held in 2020. We are
the only one
event that proceeded as planned, and everyone knows the statement by now, where I was like, it's a First and Second Amendment protected assembly, and we're having our summer party.
Yeah.
And we did, right? And so Rogers Campground let us throw PorcFest during COVID. And, that was actually quite remarkable as well. So I really want those people who want that sort of historic family reunion sense to still go to Rogers. You know, like a lot of people know it's rustic and a little rundown and, oh, this, you know, doesn't work and whatever, but hey, you know, it lets us throw a party to PorcFest. So maybe we look the other way a little bit, right? So I would love it if people will still go there and sort of keep that heart tradition. But I think over time, people are going to start to go their different ways. And I imagine like smaller friends groups will sort of, you know, spin off and people will be like, oh, I found this really cool campground. Let's all go here. Or maybe people rent a huge Airbnb on one of the lakes or on one of the islands. And they're like, hey, this house can sleep 30 people. I'm putting together a group of 30 people, right? So now it becomes really a build your own adventure, build your own experience. What do you like? Yeah. If you don't like Rogers Campground and you don't like camping, maybe one of the fancy resorts is where you should be. But the beauty of it is New Hampshire is a tourism state. So it's also us having the opportunity to showcase the best of New Hampshire to people, which is one of the selling points. Yes, the community is the selling point, but so is the destination.
And I will say, for those who are excited and want to participate, one, get your tickets now. And two, I know our friends and also sponsor of the show at the Independence Inn are participating. And I bet you that week, those rooms are going to go quick.
I think they only have 2 left already.
All right, so act quickly, and if they're all booked, well, then you'll have to, you know, stay with them another week. But you definitely want to be here for PorcFest that week. Right. There are plenty of opportunities around New Hampshire.
I'm so glad you mentioned them. I didn't mean to leave them off the list. I'm just kind of jumping around.
Oh here. Yeah, but of course, it's a pretty central thing for at least events that are kind of down the Manchester region and the Seacoast and up in the Lakes region. It's kind of like a and
actually, so I'm just paging through here. I should also mention the Concord Prickle, which of course is in our capital city. So Concord, where we just had a fabulous, well done, Eric, Liberty Forum. I'm glad, I'm sure you're glad that's behind you.
And now I got to think about PorcFest. So, you know, I'll get a quick moment to breathe. And
now take the way you feel and multiply that by an extra 18.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
So anyway, I know there's a lot that's still developing, but like to make this work, we need we need a kind of clear sign of early buy-in from our community, and people have been since it was announced at Liberty Forum, and when we announced it too in the email newsletter. We've been getting the word out to our communities. I've been seeing, like, I get these dings on my phone every time a ticket sale comes in. Like, a lot of people are buying tickets, and I know just for right now until Sunday, there's a discount code you can use for
a significant code, because really I am trying to incentivize people, because I know our folks have resistance to change sometimes. So I really am trying to make it attractive. So go ahead. Yes, our code is.
Yeah, it's Free Staters.
Free Stater, one word, Free Stater. And it is, the tickets are going to be regular adult tickets are $75. Kids with an adult are free. So anyone under 18 free are going to be $75. And then if we see there is an appetite, it will become more expensive. But right now, as an incentive to our early pioneers, so basically people who are like, hey, we see what you're doing. We realize this is going to be a new direction, but that this has massive potential. And I want to talk about that massive potential for a second. This is hugely scalable in a way that we should actually embrace. Why? Soulfest, which is a Christian rock fest they do out at Gunstock, brings in 10,000 people for one weekend. Bike Week, back in its zenith, right? Back in its big day, bikers from all over America converged on New Hampshire for a week. I hear it was kind of hairy, and someone was like, don't use that as an example. But I'm using it as the example to say that brought in 400,000 bikers for a week in New Hampshire. What does that tell us? One, it tells us that the roads can scale to that. Two, that tells us, and we know this is a tourism state. So we have the campgrounds, the hotels, the places to stay, the little unique experiences. And we know that can accommodate those numbers. So I am thinking extremely aggressively where I'm like, hey, what if in 5 years our stretch goal is we bring in 10,000 libertarians for a week to New Hampshire, which of course we wouldn't be able to do on one campground. And we showcase everything that's great about New Hampshire and everything that's great about our community. And I will tell you, you know, the Porkfest as it was originally designed was kind of the migration tool. Now we're shifting to demonstration. And so the scalability of it is very attractive to me as well. So for folks who get in early, like if you're looking for, hey, I know it's been around for a while and we want fresh bragging rights, Carla, this is it. If you buy your ticket before Sunday for $25 off, so for $50, you can say, I'm willing to invest in this plan, because it is smart, it is scalable, it solves for all the constraints that we are confronted with. Please, for the love of God, no one be like, hey, Carla, did you ask another campground? Yes, we did. Eric can speak to that.
We did a very exhaustive search, and the challenge is what the challenge has always been. People have been looking for alternatives ever since the 2 years that Porkfest was at Gunstock. The challenge is finding a venue that is big enough, that will allow camping, that will allow dogs and free-range children and guns and other things.
And right?
And for the issues that there have been, we won't dwell on it. The issues that there have been at Rogers, it is which we have worked to kind of partner with them and bring in extra facilities and stuff in the past, right? We're grateful. I was very grateful to have been there, and for the time that we were allowed, we were there. It's hard to find an exact kind of alternate place where we can do all those things until the day comes that we have some multimillionaire donors want to come in and purchase a property that meets all those specifications. And that is a big undertaking, but this is an exciting way to keep the Porkfest spirit alive and showcase, right, that we aren't just, Porkfest isn't just a simulation of an abstract idea that might exist in the future of New Hampshire. Porkfest was a simulation of something that we are at the point now, 25 years in, that is actually happening in New Hampshire. So the hubs are in existence.
Are real, right? So it's like, oh, I don't have to take a cool hub to the campground and go make tacos there. I can just be like, why don't you just come to the Quill and see it for yourself? And it also gives free staters who are passionate, who maybe just want to do a one-day thing, or maybe they have a little land and they're like, I've always wanted 5 or 10 people to camp here. It starts to create opportunities for new entrepreneurs or new business people to test out their ideas in a more controlled environment, or in one where, hey, the FSP is the top of the funnel, is bringing in people. So the hardest part about spinning up a new event and the hardest part about entrepreneurship is getting customers. And so what we're able to do is we can leverage a 23-year-old brand that many free staters have put countless hours. I mean, if we pull together the Porkfest volunteer teams from over the years, that's a group photo that's pretty impressive just in its own right. So now we get to showcase that has been built and honor like the volunteers and the people who have been doing the building. And again, there's other people who are like, hey, I want to try stuff. I was talking to a fairly recent mover, but not like brand new, at Liberty Forum, and he was like, hey, I actually have this outdoor adventure company. Like I do these very exclusive 5-people hikes. You know, I take people on a certain, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. 1, I actually want to do it. And 2, put it on the schedule.
Yeah. I mean, I think it opens up so many possibilities. I mean, PorcFest, I mean, you know, when at PorcFest would you have the opportunity to hike a mountain or with, I mean, that was always, I think, the most the thing that was amazing about PorcFest, right, is it wasn't just like, not just a conference where you kind of see people give talks, right, but it was a place where you had experiences with people both in the New Hampshire Liberty world and visitors from the larger Liberty world that maybe people like you see and in one context, but you get to experience something in a different context with them. Like I always thought it was great last year. Like PorcFest is, we got to see Scott Horton give a talk about foreign policy like he does so many places, which is wonderful. But it was also the place where I got to hear Scott Horton do stand-up comedy, right? Yeah. And that's not an experience I ever get anywhere else. Well, maybe this is one where you get to go on a hike a mountain with someone who's a Liberty influencer that you know. Or when at PorcFest have you been able to have a beach day? I mean, I'll tell you, like, in the Seacoast we got some wonderful beaches, and that could be a wonderful event that maybe the Shell Clubhouse wants to put something on. And I will say, for some entrepreneurial people out there, there are a lot of opportunities here. I know one of the things some people have pointed out, I mean, first of all, I will say it is a very beautiful time of year to drive the state of New Hampshire and to see all the different corners of it. But if that's something that you really kind of don't want to be doing yourself, you don't love doing the long drives, I'm sure for some entrepreneurial people out there, it's a great opportunity to offer shuttle services to some of these different events. And kind of party caravans and stuff like that. So they're just like, at PorcFest, as we've known it, there's always like the entrepreneurial opportunities, people bringing in, we had trouble with some, growing so big beyond facilities, and people brought in and made money off of shower trucks, people, where there is a need, there is a market opportunity. And so there, for those who want to be entrepreneurial, there's a lot of opportunities here.
Right. So let me ask you something. What do you think? Like, I'm trying to figure out, I don't want it to get like insanely unwieldy, right? Because I think for a first-time attendee, that might also be overwhelming. So I'm inclined at the moment, but I'm open to suggestions and feedback. I'm inclined to say, for the passport program, we have our sort of designated venues, right? And that becomes the official program. And then for community that might be like, I don't know why I used the weirdest example at my speech at Liberty Forum, which Rainita's working on and hopefully we'll have out soon enough, was maybe you want to throw a fondue party. That was what sprung into my mind. Sometimes you're speechifying and you're like, what? Why? Okay, but you got to roll with it. And I was like, no one wants to eat fondue in summer. So I needed a new example, right? But let's say you want to offer a surf class, right? On the beautiful beach you just described. I'm thinking maybe there's the official schedule and an unofficial schedule. They both map to New Hampshire. And I went through the tech this morning with Brian, so people will be able to input their own schedules, input their own programming. We'll have to make some technical videos and do like weekly training with hub leaders and anyone who wants it. There's definitely going to be a little, new and different ways, but ideally, eventually, everyone will be familiar with the tool and that part will become a little more seamless. But so that people can toggle between official programming and unofficial programming, so that it isn't like where you go to the hub map and there's like 9,000 things and you just are like, I don't know what to do, right?
I know, and we'll still be we'll be working through how to adapt the really innovative technology that our tech team led by Brian Becker built for PorcFest this last year, this kind of interactive map, and is currently in use for the Free State Project calendar now. What was so successful, we're using it for the full calendar. but I know there are ways you can kind of like toggle on, things by different criteria. So, imagine kind of the official partner organizations, kind of their events, you can be able to toggle that on. And if you want to throw in other things, just like we've done with, a PorcFest at PorcFest Classic, there's been the official programming, right? With stuff that was going on at the main pavilion, and then there was all the hubs that anyone could come and build anything. So I think we definitely want to offer support and access to events for all of those things.
Oh, yeah, they're still going to be on there. I'm just trying to.
I'm just saying that for the benefit of our audience.
Fairest sense is, just, make it a free for all. But I think we're doing so many things that maybe there just needs to be a little guidance. And again, for everyone who's kind of going, it's an experiment. The energy we go into is the energy we're going to get out. So I think we should be gung-ho. I think we should be like, hey, we think we can make this work. Yeah. And then, we iterate from there. Again, it's the scalability and the showcasing of the community parts that really, really appeal to me. And maybe there's even ways, and this is something I've discussed frequently over the years. I have all these pictures in my head, right, of things I have envisaged that I think, will at least for me be like, oh, if that happens, I can check a box in my head. And I always thought, well, two things. I always wanted to, bring the band Muse and do like a 1-day rock festival. And maybe that's like 5 years from now when we have the 10,000 people, that's how we hack it, right? We rent out one of these big stadiums and we do like a big cool rock show that's like the anchor that pulls people in, and then everyone goes and does their thing. But I'd also said over the years, right here in Manchester at the arena, I was like, well, could we get like Doug Stanhope to come and we do like a standalone comedy show? Maybe Doug's a little long in the tooth now. Sorry, Doug. But a Dave Smith or whoever's the comedian of the day, right? Where you actually do an anchor event that's crossover between libertarians and straights, which also gives us outreach opportunity. And you create like a huge anchor event that is part of PorcFest, the passport across the Free State. But it is something that's so choice that, yes, it's going to bring those people in. Is that going to happen for PorcFest this year? The 23rd annual PorcFest? Probably not. But again, it feels like the sky's the limit, and I mean, I know I'm naturally optimistic and I'm like, we're going to make it work, but I think we can make it work.
It's what we all decide to build and what we decide to put into it. And I've been thinking about this, I have a little bit of an improvisational theater background, like from like 2 lifetimes ago, before politics and everything else. And there was always the principle. And if anyone who's done improvisational theater, you'll be familiar with this. You can say yes, or you can say no, but, right. And to say no, but that takes you nowhere. Right? To say no, but let's poo-poo that, and let's like that just shuts things down and it takes us nowhere. But to say yes, and yes, this is your idea, and here's what I'm going to add to it to make it even better and make it more successful. And this is an opportunity for us all to say yes, and yes. Let's keep PorcFest alive this year. Yes, let's embrace this new model. Yes, let's make it work. And yes, this is what I want to add to it, right? Yep. This is the event I want to bring to it. And it is a huge opportunity to continue showcasing what the Free State movement is building here in New Hampshire. And I want to invite every member of our audience to participate in it, whether it's just getting your ticket and getting your passport to the Free State for that week and being, an attendee of events, or you can, especially for folks who are here and want to showcase what they have been building, build something, connect with one of the official venue, the clubhouses, and offer to do something kind of with their programming, or you could build something on your own.
And honestly, like I was thinking, so, I do real estate with Porcupine Real Estate, right? And so sometimes I find myself in strange parts of our land where I'm just like, where am I now? I'm on like 155B, road or whatever. And so sometimes I'll be wending my way through our beautiful state, and Mark Warden, who is my broker, he and of course Matt Ping as well. But Mark, will know these little insider places. So he'll be like, hey, Carla, when you're in this area, stop here. So I'm not going to remember the exact place right now, but he did that once, and he was like, stop at this community, like a gas station store, a country store. And I thought that was kind of weird that he told me, like, hey, stop at this place. And then I stopped there, and it was the most amazing country store I've ever been into. And he was afterwards, he's like, yeah, that's Free Stater owned. And I was like, who knew? And so I was like, that country store can just put themselves on the map. And so if people are exploring, because also now you have the opportunity, maybe you're going to tootle down south of the Notch to come do something at the Quill, but then you want to stop at the warehouse on the way home, but then you also want to, get gas and take a back road back, say, right? Yeah. And suddenly you're like, I can stop at this fabulous country store. And so, I imagine more and more of this is going to happen. Our main challenges are going to be, we need some proof of concept. So really, I want to encourage everyone watching this, please, please, please. That's an earnest request, actually. Do your bit. Go to porkfest.com. Put in code FreeStater before Sunday. Get a $50 ticket. It is never going to be cheaper than this. But you can also be a person who can then say, I was a pioneer. I was there when they took it from tell to show. I was there when we got so big and so successful that we had to actually expand across the entire state, because we are everywhere and we're doing cool things and we are building liberty from the ground up. And we want to show people what we're doing, because we want the people that appeals to move here and come build stuff with us. So number one, go buy your ticket. And honestly, I am going to look at it as a vetting, right? And I'm my mood can only be so good, right? I would love to see 300 Free Staters by Sunday be like, yes, we're on board. Yes, we're going to support this. Yes, we have questions, but yes, and yes, I have my ticket. And Carla, how can I help?
We all like the Free State itself. We all build it together.
Exactly.
And if it was just me and Carla sitting around talking, there would be no Free State project, or there might be a project, but there would be no Free State that has been built over the 25 years of the project, right? It is many hands, many minds, all contributing in our own ways, spontaneous order, as we believe in. We don't need the central authority barking orders, right? We can go out and we can build things. We're building a framework, right, that people can build their own events and opportunities within.
And also there's a closer, better matching, maybe, and maybe it creates a little more of an intimacy. Many of our folks might tend more on the introverted side. So one, it creates an opportunity to go pick the things you are more aligned and passionate about, but also because of that, more likely to meet people where you have a like-minded meeting of the minds in maybe a less stressful, sort of scenario. I assume carpools are going to spin up. There's probably going to be buses that will run. All of this is going to be contingent on everyone in the community, one, buying a ticket to get us started, and then two, coming, to the trainings to figure out how to put up your events, start building out that map, build out that schedule, and then we're going to have this fabulous time across the state that week. Maybe some people are like, this is so awesome, I'm not going to leave. You stay an extra week. And then next year, maybe we go from 1,500 people to 2,500, right? Like there is this real opportunity. Like we can actually, if we do this right, we will have made a world's first type of event for a country, right? For a state where, everyone gets to experience the different regions. They get to experience the different flavors. We have the best homemade ice cream stands in the world all over New Hampshire. So you'll probably get to do that. And
it's also a great time of year for lobster. We do have great lobstering in the seacoast that time of year too.
So you know, I do think this can be. I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. Someone tell me. But I'm excited. I actually think that this is the perfect pivot. It is making the best out of a difficult situation. But maybe that's the gift that we've been given. It is the opportunity to be like, oh, let's try something new. And maybe we have come up with a model. It solves for a lot of problems. But again, it does create unity, decentralization, and freedom, right? Because you have the freedom to go and support the things. We have the freedom to be like, you know, that's happening, but this is also happening. I think it's going to be awesome. And someone's going to walk away with $10,000.
Well, let's lean into it. And Carla, I really appreciate, you know, when we were staring down the barrel of a gun where there was going to be no Porkfest, you know, you stepped up and, you know, we'd been batting around this idea for a while and you stepped up with an idea and I am behind you 100% on making this a success. And I want to invite everyone else to hop in and help us, you know, make this Porkfest this year a bigger success than any Porkfest has ever been, or at least, you know, a really successful Porkfest. So get your tickets. Carla, we are over on time. We're so excited about this. So we've run a little long. Anything final you want to share? We didn't even really talk too much about the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, but people should sign up for the Free State Project newsletter because they will get a whole recap of it next Sunday. And maybe it'll be, you know, maybe on the next episode or something, we'll have some more opportunities to talk about it with whoever the guest is. But
and I do want to give a shout out to you with the newsletter. Everyone should be subscribed to that. Eric and the team do Eric specifically, I think, a really marvelous job with the newsletter. I've started cribbing from it for my content when I'm finally not sick. You know, I use it for my Monday report on the independents to be like, hey, this is what's coming up this week. This is what happened. So I look forward to that recap. People can also find there was a great Concord Monitor article about us that covered Liberty Forum. That'll give people a flavor. But what I want people to be left with is please go to porkfest.com, buy your ticket, put in the code FreeStater, get your $25 off, or don't. I'd be even happier if you don't. But show your support for this idea. Invest in the Free State Project. Invest in the efforts of the people who are building out New Hampshire. And let's try and make something awesome. Why not?
At the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, we discussed how to build liberty. At PorcFest this year, we are going to build liberty. So come and build it.
There we
Carla,
go.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to PorcFest.
Awesome. I'm glad.
All right, everyone. That's the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. A reminder, become a patron. Get your very own Porcupine patron lapel pin when you become a patron at fsp.org/give. If you are a gold level or higher patron, then send me a message and we can see if if we could check your status and make sure you may qualify for complimentary tickets to Porkfest. So if you're gold level or higher patron, get in touch and we can get you taken care of. If you already gold level patrons, if you already got complimentary tickets for Liberty Forum, it's like one event or the other, but some of the higher tiers, you get complimentary tickets for both. We like to take care of our patrons because our patrons take care of the whole mission of the organization. So it's a nice perk to be a patron. fsp.org/give. Sign up for the newsletter. Thank you to our sponsors. And you know what? Furthermore, my opinion is the Federal Reserve should be destroyed.